All right, well, happy Sunday, and thank you so much for joining us here on 13 WMAZ Plus. Similar to yesterday, we're going to be talking a little bit more about why we have a weather impact alert in place for tomorrow, and then just generally going over what you can expect for the rest of the day and the upcoming week as well. The good news is if you're kind of feeling like, oh goodness, we have the 100-degree day tomorrow and it's going to be really, really warm, I have good news on the 7-day, and even, I'll just give you a little teaser here. Next weekend, some of the models were even showing 80 degrees. So definitely better news on the 7-day. We just kind of have to get through the weather impact alert day tomorrow with all the heat first. And today's going to be really hot as well. If we're already looking at the sky cams over all 4 of the areas right now, you can see that there's plenty of sunshine to start Sunday off. So we're not lacking any of that. And that's how yesterday started as well. Clear blue skies. And you know, when the heat of the day starts to come up, a couple of clouds will pop up, but these clear skies have kind of already lent themselves to temperatures really finding their way to a warm number quickly. I remember this morning when we were kind of in the shows, I was watching these values go from low 70s to 80s within the matter of a couple of minutes. So right now, where things stand, we're mainly in kind of the low to all the way to the upper 80s. There's a couple of low 80s, especially over in our western counties, a few upper 80s in a couple of spots. We don't have 90 degrees just yet, but you know, it won't be long before we do end up seeing that somewhere in the area. We do have plenty of mugginess out there, so despite not seeing 90 at the moment, with the humidity, the dew point values all the way in the mid to upper 70s, you know, when we flip over to the feels like numbers, yeah, it's already feeling like 90 in a lot of places. Upper 90s, even 99 over in Washington County, 97 down there in Lawrence County. Cooler towards the west, so the humidity is definitely worse in our eastern counties here, which is going to come into play when I show you the heat advisories that we have for tomorrow. That kind of plays into it. The humidity is just a little bit worse further towards the east here. Definitely a bit better towards the west, still feeling closer to the actual values. But no matter where you are, the humidity is playing a role. It's definitely playing on the feels like numbers a bit across the area. So basically for today, what you can expect is kind of a rinse and repeat from yesterday. There's going to be one change. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the change that anybody wants. It's the temperatures finding their way to a little bit of a warmer number. Yesterday's high temperature was 96 degrees. Today's high temperature is going to be 98 degrees. So just about 2 degrees warmer. But if you were with me yesterday, you probably remember me saying that 98 degrees is the warmest temperature that we've seen so far this year. We had one 98-degree day back in June, and we've had one 98-degree day here in July. So today would meet the warmest day that we've had so far this year, and then tomorrow we're looking to exceed it. So yeah, definitely warmer today, but again, that's going to be really the only change from today, from yesterday to today. The rain chances are going to look fairly familiar, and overall conditions are going to feel relatively the same. So we'll show you the future view here in just a minute. But yesterday I kind of showed this to show you the setup of the high pressure at the surface and the heat dome that's over us in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And I kind of used the color of the map here just to show you a whole lot of orange embedded in some lighter colors. So there's some darker green further out towards the west, and the orange is where the heat dome is set up. You also can see the way that the winds are spinning down here towards the coast. That is also showing that we're sitting under a high pressure system here as well. Reflected further in what's going on the satellite radar, which is a whole bunch of nothing. So high pressure is dominating our area. That is allowing the temperatures to climb. It's keeping the rain chances low, and it's really hanging on to our area. So every day the temperatures can get a little bit warmer, and that trend is shown today and tomorrow. Now the good news is, as we kind of push into the work week here, really as early as Tuesday, this heat dome is going to start to move out further towards the west. So there's going to be some disturbances in the upper atmosphere that's going to help push that out of our area, and we'll be left with a much better scene in terms of temperatures. It's going to help that air mass move out and not just sit over us and warm up every single day. It'll still be warm, July, but more seasonably to what we should expect for this time of year. And the rain chances will increase, which we haven't had a very rainy July, so we need the rain for sure, because you can see right now there is nothing to be seen on the satellite and radar besides some scatter going on there that you can see from time to time. The radar's been on vacation, and it's really going to stay that way through the rest of the day today. Flipping over to the future view, there's just about nothing of note to talk about here for the rest of Sunday at the very least. It's going to be clear and quiet. So if you do have outdoor plans today, it's actually a good chance to do them. Remember, the caveat is just the heat. But we should stay dry. You shouldn't really be worrying about rain chances impacting your outdoor plans today, at least for the weekend. We've been able to say that all weekend. Really no rain chances. At most, you'd be seeing one of these right here. That's maybe a brief shower, a really isolated one. I use this analogy a lot. And the reason I do is because it's happened to me before, where it's raining in somebody else's backyard, but maybe not yours. That's kind of the thing you could expect for today. If you do happen to catch a shower, it will be tiny and it will be very short-lived at that. Now, we do start to have a change as we head into the work week, even as early as Monday. So right now, what I've said for today is about a 10% chance of rain. Heading into Monday, I've bumped that up to about 20. So when we flip over to the future view, you can see a little bit more than what we could see for Sunday, right? A couple more of these little blips here, and you probably saw them popping in and out before the pause point here on the future view. There's just a teeny tiny, slightly better chance at catching one of these isolated showers or storms. I'm not really talking widespread scattered storms. I'm just saying there's maybe a more of a chance than we had this weekend to catch one of these isolated showers or storms. Heading into the evening, that chance increases a little bit more. We kind of have this late night rain chance Monday night, and it's really just some scattered rain, maybe a couple of storms in there as well. Nothing really in the way of severe weather for Monday or for Monday evening, but the chances increased just a touch. Now, the chances get even better as we head into Tuesday. So the summertime thing kind of returns on Tuesday. Remember, I talked about something pushing that heat dome out of our area, ushering in some better air, and returning the rain chances to our area. That's going to happen starting on Tuesday. So we'll start the morning off clear like we mostly do in the summertime. And then heading into the afternoon, that's when the rain chances will start to increase. And you can just see just by looking at the future view, they get a lot better just in the sense that you have a way better chance of catching one of these scattered showers and storms. It's not necessarily an organized system coming through our area, but the coverage on this rain chance is going to be a little bit better. Heading into the evening, it increases even more. You can see definitely some more activity just across the map in general. Scattered rain likely, probably a couple of thunderstorms embedded within there as well. But even for Tuesday, we're not really expecting anything in terms of widespread severe weather. What we're really talking about in terms of these storms is what you're used to seeing in the summer. A couple of storms are capable of producing some downburst, gusty winds, maybe some hail in there as well, but not necessarily an organized severe weather threat for the whole area. Now the rain chances stay like Tuesday heading into Wednesday. So it's a very similar story for Wednesday. Rain chances will stay up just a touch, and then honestly, through the rest of the work week, the rain chances will be up. It's really going to hopefully be a better chance to catch a shower or storm heading into the rest of the week. You can see on the long range, I don't get too hung up on these long range models because they're low resolution for such a large scale. It's hard to really see what's going on, specifically in Macon or Warner Robins, areas like that, when you're looking at a long range model. So when I tend to see paint splatter appearance on long range like this, that to me indicates, okay, the chances for diurnal, which is those afternoon showers and storms, comes back in because there's no real organization to what you're seeing here, but there is a rain chance on there. So that'll be the rest of the work week. And then right now it looks to stick around into the weekend, but things can change a lot day to day as we kind of look all the way to the end of the 7-day forecast. So that's a little bit on your rain chance for the next couple of days. Encouraging news that's going to line up with the drop in our temperatures as well. But like I said, we got to get through some dry weather first, and we got to get through the heat first as well. So weather impact alert is in place for Monday, mainly due to the fact that we have these heat indices on the way. Now remember, sometimes we do these weather impact alerts for severe weather. I just showed you the future view. This is not for severe weather. It is solely for the heat. So why exactly are we going with the weather impact alert for this? The main reason, despite kind of all the details, is because this is going to be the warmest day that we've seen all year long. So I don't want you to be caught off guard. I want you to be well prepared. I just don't want the heat. Sometimes here in Georgia, and I understand because I do it too, we tend to underestimate the heat. We're used to this. This may catch you off guard just a little bit because the heat indices are going to be 110 and above. So that's really, really warm. Those are the highest heat indices that we've seen so far this year. The reason that can become dangerous when you're outdoors for long periods of time is because heat illness can creep up a lot quicker when you have heat indices that high. Things like heat exhaustion, heat stroke, they can just happen a lot quicker. So it's important to take that seriously as well. The actual numbers will be in the triple digits for the first time this year. So we've had a lot of feels like numbers in the triple digits, but we haven't actually seen temperatures reach the triple digits before. So that will be possible heading into Monday as well. and the highest heat criteria for our area has been kind of met that we've seen so far this year. So an extreme heat watch is in place. I'm kind of emphasizing the word watch here because I'll show you here in a second. We're going to talk about the distinction between watch and a warning. It's very similar to severe thunderstorm watch versus warning. You know, conditions are possible, but not guaranteed. That's kind of this extreme heat watch. It's possible that we're going to see these things, triple-digit temperatures and heat indices above 110. In fact, I would say likely rather than possible, but it's not necessarily locked in place guarantee. So we'll talk about the certainty from the National Weather Service here in just a second, but let's kind of show you what it looks like on the map here. There's a couple things we have to talk about with this map specifically. One, I want you to use your imagination, peel off the red for just a second and focus on this peach color here. Imagine that peach color across our entire area. So that is for today. We're still under a heat advisory this afternoon. Remember, I told you the temperatures are going to be in the upper 90s, and that means the heat indices are going to be somewhere between 105 and 108. So we've had a couple of heat advisories this year. This is definitely not something that we haven't seen before, but important to note, it's going to be really, really warm across the area today, enough for the National Weather Service to kind of flag attention to it and say, hey, heat advisory in place, but this is not something that we haven't seen before. Monday is when we creep into, I guess, uncharted territory. Not necessarily uncharted, but the first time we've seen it so far this year. This red color here is the extreme heat watch. Now remember, at the beginning of this, I was showing the dew point values and saying that they're higher towards the east. So if you're curious why places like Lamar, Upson, Taylor, Macon counties, Dooley, Crisp, and Wilcox are not included in the watch, the dew point values may just be a touch lower, or the temperatures may not be expected to climb to that 110. Kind of my perspective on this whole situation is if you're in these counties, I would just consider yourself included. You know, it may be a degree or two difference, but it's still going to be really, really warm. You're still going to be experiencing the highest heat that we've seen so far this year. So I wouldn't necessarily count yourself out just because your county's not outlined in this. You're still expecting to see triple-digit temperatures and likely close to, if not over, in a couple places, 110 in heat index values. So that's what this means. Now remember, we talked about watch versus warning. Right now we're in a watch. That means conditions are likely. They're not guaranteed. If we see this upgraded either later today, likely later today, I guess, because this would be for tomorrow. If we see this kind of upgraded to a warning, that means the National Weather Service is saying, yeah, this is a guarantee. It looks like we're really going to see this across the area. If we there's kind of basically two ways it could go. We'll either go into a warning or they'll drop us down to a heat advisory, which is possible because the certainty from the National Weather Service has not been 100%. So heat criteria is difficult. It can be kind of difficult to forecast dew point values, and that's kind of why there can be a little bit of indiscrepancy with the heat criteria. So kind of just to give you some perspective, we're in this extreme heat watch. That means that there's only 50% certainty from the National Weather Service that we're going to be seeing these heat index values over 110. We would need them to have 80% certainty to bump us up to a warning. In their discussions this morning, talking with us as meteorologists in the National Weather Service chat, they were saying we're not quite close to that 80% threshold, so it is possible that they drop us down to a heat advisory. We would be on the high end of that heat advisory. I think either way, we're still expecting to see triple-digit temperatures, and we're still expecting the heat index to climb the highest that we've seen so far. So all of this to say, regardless of what the heat criteria is heading into Monday, just kind of lock it into your brain that this is going to be the hottest day of the year so far, and that's what you need to know. If you need to be outside, just kind of take some precautions, spend a little bit of extra time in the air conditioning, bring water with you. That's really all you need to know. Don't get too hung up on the criteria, the heat advisories, the watches, the warnings, all of that, because as you can see here, if we kind of take a look at the next couple of days, 100 degrees is forecasted and has been forecasted for a few days. It's seeming probable that we're going to have at least some areas reach the triple digits on Monday. Now, I promised that there would be better news in store. If you've been checking in with our team for a few days, Tuesday was also predicted to be a 100-degree day. We've since seen the models really trend that down over the last couple of days. Now kind of feeling confident to throw this back into the 90s. So Tuesday looks like it'll be a little bit cooler. I don't think that we're going to see at least extreme heat watch extended into Tuesday. We may have a heat advisory, but we're on the decline. So we've hit our peak on Monday and then start to decline on Tuesday. Remember I said that heat dome is going to be moving on. The rain chances are going to be increasing. That means the temperatures are going to be dropping as well. So we're going to start trending down after Monday, and to the point where we get to the middle of the work week, we're already seeing the mid-90s back closer to average where we should be for this time of year. I mentioned we get even cooler than that as we head into the weekend. I'll show you on the 7-day. I threw 90 on Saturday, but some of the models are even calling for 80. So there will be relief from this insight. It's really just kind of the one day that things are going to be really, really hot. Not necessarily abnormal for our area. We don't always see 100-degree days here in central Georgia, but the earliest that we have seen one in the past has been May 26th. On average, we tend to see it in early July. So we're kind of trending on the later side of having a 100-degree day. We're really close to the start of August, but not the latest that we've seen it at all. The latest has been September 18th. So yeah, kind of somewhere in the middle, but some kind of on the late end of the spectrum to see a 100-degree day. So that is what you need to know about the heat for the upcoming week and about the rain chances and the heat dome and basically what you can expect weather-wise here in our area for the next week or so. Because we're here, might as well check in with the tropics as well. We were watching a disturbance over in the Gulf a couple of days ago. That, as of kind of yesterday, has just dissipated into a low pressure system out of the area. Now, there's no areas that are being monitored, at least as of today, for potential tropical development. I mentioned this yesterday in the stream, but as we head into August, we'll start to see the activity ramp up a little bit more. It's really not abnormal for us to not see a lot of activity in June and July. As we head into August, that is when we start to see tropical storm and hurricane activity take a big jump up. You know, the peak of the season is over in September, so we'll really see the most activity probably within the next 2 to 3 months. You'll really start to see it pick up. It's not abnormal. That's kind of how this always happens every year. We've had 3 named storms so far, so the next name to claim would be Dexter. All of these storms have been tropical storms, so we have yet to see our first hurricane of the season either. And just to give you some perspective, on average, the first hurricane is typically named around August 11th. So that wouldn't be too far from now. I know I'm not really looking forward to it, but you know, we kind of just have to get through the peak of the season until, you know, it'll kind of be over before you know. By the time we're talking about November, we'll see the down tick in activity here, and we'll just kind of see how it goes over the next few months or so. But, you know, always important when we're checking in just to kind of give you a perspective of what's going on in the tropics. So with that being said, let's kind of recap everything here on the 7-day forecast. Now remember, we didn't get to talk about this on the high temperature graphic, but worth mentioning that the weekend is looking to be a little bit cooler than we've had in quite some time. We've been really hanging out in the mid-90s, even upper 90s in some days. So you got to make it through today, tomorrow, kind of Tuesday also. Then the temperatures will start to feel a lot more normal for this time of year. By the time we're at the end of the work week, kicking off August, we've got better rain chances. The temperatures are still declining. And then in the weekend, I threw 90 on there. I'm not totally sold yet on the 80s, but models were calling for 80s. So we'll kind of see what happens next weekend. That may be due to a frontal boundary that tries to come into our area, one of those backdoor front situations. You know how it goes. That's on the tail end of the forecast. So we'll kind of see how that pans out over the next couple of days or so. But all in all, what you should really be focused on is Monday. Just if you can, I know what I'm going to do on Monday is spend as much time inside as possible, and you should be good to go. We'll probably see changes in the heat criteria here within the next couple of hours or so. That extreme heat watch is either going to be upgraded to an extreme heat warning, which just gives us some certainty that, yeah, most of the areas will see feels like numbers up to about 110, probably greater, or we'll see it downgraded to a heat advisory. Either way, we're expecting to see 100-degree actual temperature values and feels like numbers even warmer than that. So that's kind of all you really need to know about the weather impact alert. Of course, if there's further changes, we'll be here. Meteorologist David Guerrero will be in tonight for 13 WMAZ News at 6 and 11 with kind of the latest details on that. They'll probably have an update to that criteria by then, and then we will just get into Monday, get it over with as quickly as possible, and then head into the rest of the week where better news is on the way. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, I'm meteorologist Ansley Parker. I hope you have a safe and restful Sunday.